pastor of the United Ministries in Higher Education and have been doing a course with about 15 faculty and others who are part of the university this last semester, and this is the second to the last session of that class. It is appropriate that we be doing this evening. Herbert Craig, on his way, reminded me that this is Human Rights Day, and that makes it an even more significant occasion for us. It is also significant that those of us who come out of a Christian tradition be reminded that we are in a holiday season and that our Jewish brothers and sisters have just ended a holiday season of Hanukkah, and that we do have Jewish brothers and sisters among us. The topic tonight is the Holocaust through the eyes of a survivor. In my opinion, perhaps the greatest ethical question put to Christians at the latter part of the 20th century is why, in a country that had 1,000 years of established Christianity, Christians participated in the destruction of between 6 and 12 million Jews with very little criticism and very little critique. And during this Advent season, those of us who come out of the Christian tradition need to be asking ourselves what for us must be some very painful and very critical questions. About 4 weeks ago, one of our students in the Holocaust class came with me with the name of Cantor Fettman and said, would it be possible to invite him to speak to our class? And the next day, almost as if by fate, I received in the mail a flyer about the Anne Frank exhibit in Omaha. And on the final night of that exhibit, the 10th of November, 1991, Cantor Fettman and Dr. Leo Cater were speaking. And some of us went down to that, and afterward I spoke to the speakers, and they agreed to come out. And I am very grateful for their presence among us. Cantor Fettman is the Cantor, I guess song leader is what we low Protestants would say, as a functional equivalent, at Beth Israel Synagogue in Omaha. He was born in Hungary of an ultra-Orthodox family, Orthodox Jewish family. When he was 19 years old, he was taken to Auschwitz. And after Auschwitz was deserted by the Nazis, he was moved to 5 labor camps, and he was released on May 9th, 1945, the day after the end of the war. He was freed by the Soviets to go back to Hungary, and shortly after that he went back to a displaced person camp at Bergen-Belsen in the northern part of Germany. After 4 years at Bergen-Belsen after the end of the war, during that time he attended music conservatory in Hanover and led services for the Jewish American soldiers who were stationed at Celle in Germany. He had one brother who survived the Holocaust, and he came to Canada in 1949, where he attended rabbinical school and became a tailor and supported himself. In the Christian tradition, we would say you had a tent-making ministry at that point. He is a rabbi, ordained rabbi, and is Cantor. He has served in Gary, Indiana, Madison, Wisconsin, and since 1974 in Omaha. Since he is a Cantor, he is going to bless us with an invocation that is the stock of his trade. Cantor Fettman, it's good to have you here.
A little correction. And we do not bless people. We ask God's blessing. And I'm sure you are familiar with the threefold blessing in every religion: And I'm going to chant this in Hebrew. יברכך השם וישמרך, יאיר השם פניו אליך ויחנך, יישא השם פניו אליך ויעשה לך shalom. If you like my voice, you are invited to visit our synagogue anytime you want to. I noticed we have here 2 microphones, and I don't know which one to use. That reminds me of the story. You rabbis can't always begin first with a story. There was this little town, and this little town had 2 synagogues, but only one Jewish family lived there. So one Jew from another town was traveling and stopped at this little town, and he saw a store. It says Weinberger. Well, Weinberger must be Jewish. So he walks in. Are you Mr. Weinberger? Yes, I am. Are there any other Jews in town? And he said to him, come with me. He took him to one synagogue, said, this is a synagogue, and over there is a synagogue. I'm the only Jew in town. Why do you need 2 synagogues? That one, I wouldn't go in. We have to have one where we don't go. So that reminded me the microphone. Which one shall I use? You noticed, of course, that I speak with an accent. I speak German, Hungarian, Hebrew, Yiddish, and I speak a little English. In case if you will have difficulty to understand my English, I can always tell you in the other languages. You notice that I have something on my head. How many of you know the reason why I am wearing this? Yes?
It's
Part of my religion. Is the Pope Jewish? He's wearing one. Bishop in Omaha is wearing one. If we will have time, later I will tell you the reason why I'm wearing. I want you to know, I don't want to keep you here for too long. I know you want to spend the Christmas with your family, but I will spend a couple hours with you. And feel free to walk out if you don't like what I have to say, or just walk out, walk in. I'm used to it. In the synagogue, they do it all the time, walk in, walk out. So I'm used to it. I won't be offended. Let me ask a question. Why are you here tonight? Do we have a brave person? Yes. To learn. To learn about what?
about your life, about the Holocaust.
Very good. Thank you very much. I know there are people here for curiosity, which is perfectly okay. How many of you saw a Jew the first time tonight? So there are 2 Jews here. How many of you saw the first time a Jew tonight? Don't be afraid. Raise your hand. Come on. Oh, you saw. Yeah, we have one there. Okay, we have 2. Actually, you saw Jews before, but you didn't know they were Jewish, because you might not know. Jewish people have horns. I have one. I left them at home. How many of you heard that the Jews have horns? I'm sure you heard that, because every Christian in Hungary knew a Jew has horns. Now, let me continue with questions. The question will lead us to warm up a little bit. I would like to ask those people who are of German origin. Raise your hand, please. Of German origin. Thank you very much. Any American origin? We have one there. The reason why I'm asking, it is very, very important. Those who are of German origin, sit back and relax. Many people who are of German origin have a guilt feeling that what took place in Germany. I am not speaking of German people or about German people. I speak about Nazis. And Nazis and Germans are not the same. I want you to know that in Berlin alone, Berlin was the capital city of Germany, 5,000 Jews were saved by German people. So if anyone will tell you all the Germans were Nazis, don't believe it. I will not tell you my experiences in great detail because I want to allow time to touch on the causes of hatred in general, the way I see it, and the lessons we can and should learn from the Holocaust. As Jews, it is our responsibility to make sure that personal accounts of survivors live on. Already, only 50 years after the Holocaust, there are people who try to tell the world that the Holocaust never happened. There was one person right here in Nebraska by the name of Bill Curry, who died 2 years ago. He was one of the many who tried to tell the world that Holocaust never happened. But when I spoke in his community, he refused to share the pulpit with me because I wanted him to tell me that the Holocaust never happened. April 16, 1944. Two Nazis came to our home. It was on a Sunday about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They gave us 10 minutes time to get ready because we are leaving our home and we are not coming back. If such an order would be given to you, you wouldn't know what to do. If someone would give you an order 24 hours, you wouldn't know what to do. Should you take clothing? Should you take food? Should you take your little brother? No, your little brother you would leave there, you wouldn't take him. Or little sister. Or you should take care of grandparents who can hardly walk. You wouldn't know what to do. But you might say, well, we don't have to worry because it will never happen here. I hope you're right. But don't be so sure. It can happen. Who can stop a Holocaust? You and I. And this is one of the reasons why I am here. How we can stop a Holocaust. Picture like this. You could see, if you came to Hungary, every store, if it was owned by a Jew, they had 2 or 3 Nazis there, and they had sign there and an iron gate which says, "Don't support the Jew," which I cannot understand. If they had a gate there, why did they need the Nazis to be there? What did my parents do during the 10 minutes they were given? My father took a hammer and he was breaking a sewing machine that he gave to my mother. He bought the sewing machine a couple of weeks before that happened, and he was breaking away the machine. My mother took off 4 sheets from the bed where we were sleeping the night before, and she put food in each bed sheet. And my brother and I stood there. We froze. We couldn't move. It did not occur to me, why did my mother took off the dirty sheet? Why didn't she go to the closet? Why didn't she take 4 suitcases? And you can put the food there. Or clean pillowcases. She didn't do it. She took off the dirty sheet. She was already dehumanized. They took us to the synagogue, and we were in the synagogue for 3 days. It took the Nazis 3 days to collect all the Jews from this community. Then they took us to a large community, an outskirt of the community, where they had a ghetto, A ghetto was a place, they had wooden barracks and fence around this large ghetto. Nazis were walking around the ghetto, each Nazi with a machine gun and a German shepherd. It was almost impossible to get out. In this particular ghetto, there were about 2,500 Jews from different communities. That was on a Tuesday when we arrived there. Wednesday morning, we heard on the loudspeaker that the Nazis were asking young Hungarians to assist the Nazis. I said to my father, "Dad, I'm leaving." My father said, "Be careful." I said, "I will. If there is a will, there is a way." I got out of the ghetto. I went to the Nazi headquarters and I volunteered to assist them. They asked me my name. I gave them a typical Hungarian Christian name, János Szilágyi. And I did have his birth certificate. I presented to him. Then he asked me, "Why do you want to become a Nazi?" "I hate Jews." That was good enough for them. They gave me the Nazi uniform. I was wearing it. I was wearing it for 4 weeks. During the 4 weeks, I was able to save many Jews in the ghetto and help the Jews with food and clothing, whatever I could. But I had orders, like every Nazi had. If you see a Jew outside of the ghetto, you should kill him and no questions will be asked. If you see a non-Jew who wants to get inside the ghetto with food or with clothing to help the Jews, don't let him in, but don't kill him. One day I was walking on the street. I saw a Hasid. A Hasid is an ultra-Orthodox Jew. They wear black suit, black hat, and side curls, and they don't shave if they are old enough to grow a beard. Well, I was a Hasid, I am a Hasid, but I'm no longer dressed like a Hasid. So I saw this man on the street and I stopped him. And he was trembling. "Please don't kill me." "Why would I kill you?" "Because you have orders to kill a Jew and no questions will be asked." I said, "You're right. But before I kill you, let me ask you a couple questions. How did you get out of the ghetto?" And he said to me, "You won't believe me. Try me. I have a wife and small children. They are starving. And I found a way to get out. Please don't kill me." Kept on repeating. Then I noticed that he had something under his jacket. I asked him, "What are you hiding there?" He showed me a loaf of bread. "Where did you take the bread from?" "I stole it." "You stole bread?" And he said, "When children starve, you steal. Oh, please don't kill me." And at this point I said, "Why would one Jew kill another Jew?" "What are you talking about?" He said, "I am Jewish. You're not. You're a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. I'm a Jew dressed in a Nazi uniform." "Well, if you are a Jew, why are you wearing the Nazi uniform?" I said, "If I would be a real Nazi, I wouldn't bother talking to you. You would be dead already. Isn't it a proof that I am a Jew?" He still didn't want to believe me. I said, "My father, my mother, my grandmother, my sisters, small children, my whole family is there in the ghetto with you. I am here so I can save Jewish lives like I did yours." Then while we are talking, he said, "One Nazi is coming toward us." I told him, "I'm going to hit you, and I want you to run because he will kill you." I hit this man, and then I was cursing him, used foul language. I never used that kind of a language. I didn't even know that I have them. And then I turned around and I saw this Nazi and I said, "Heil Hitler." He said, "Heil Hitler." And he asked me, "Don't you take orders from the Führer," meaning Hitler? I said, "Such as what?" "Why didn't you kill him?" "Can't you see he's an old man? Let him suffer first for a few days. Then we will kill him." I got away with it. We also had orders that we had to shave. We Nazis had to shave. First morning, which was on a Thursday morning, We walk into this large washroom, they have the size of this room, and we are trying to shave, because I never shaved before in my life. I tried to shave. One of the Nazis was whistling a melody, and I'm listening very carefully. I could not put my finger on it, but I knew he must be a Jew, because he whistled something Hebrew or Yiddish. So I walk over with a razor blade and the soap, and I said to him, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler. My name is Janos Siladi, what's yours? He gave me a name, definitely a Christian name. And I said to him, you're whistling so beautiful. I happen to be a singer. What is it you are whistling? I don't know, why do you ask? I'm just asking for curiosity. Following morning, I was waiting for this young man to walk in together to the washroom and to shave. He came, and we were shaving and talking like real Nazis, how much we hate Jews. And I was looking around, I could hardly wait till everybody will leave the room. Finally, everybody left, and he and I remained. At this point, I took out my bayonet, my knife, which was part of my uniform, and I put it next to his neck. And I said to him, I am going to kill you because I found out last night that you are a Jew. Of course, I did not find out. I took a risk. And he said, you're crazy. I am a Christian, and I'm a Nazi right now, and I hate Jews. That's your version. Take the knife away. Not until you tell me who you really are. And he was quite upset. And I said to him, let's make a deal. If you tell me who you really are, even if you are a Jew, I promise I will not kill you. And he said to me, I am a Christian, I told you. Now let's say that I am a Jew. Why wouldn't you kill me? You have orders to kill me. I would make an exception. Why? At this point I really didn't know what to say. I just said to him, I promise, I won't kill you. And he looked straight in my eyes and he said, my name is Chaim Shlomo Engel. Typical Hebrew name. A Christian can't even say Chaim. When you would see CH, you would say perhaps Chaim. When he said Chaim Shlomo Engel, I put the knife back and I shook his hand and I said, and my name is Eliezer Fettman. And then he asked me, when did you come here? 3 days ago. And he said to me, I'm a veteran. You are number 19, he said to me. And I looked at him, I don't know what you are talking about. And he said, 18 of those boys are Jewish. Oh. So what do you guys do? And he said, we meet every night secretly, and how we can help the Jews. So you are number 19, we'll be working together. That went on for 4 weeks. 4 weeks later, we heard on the loudspeaker that the Nazis told the Jews to be ready because tomorrow they are leaving the country, Hungary, and they are not coming back. Get ready. With what? They had nothing. They had one suit, or ladies had one dress, nothing else. Get ready. That evening before, we, 19 Jewish Nazis, made the decision we are giving up all these guys. We walked into the ghetto, we gave up all these guys. I'm not going to tell you in detail how it went, what we went through. We gave up all these guys. Following morning, they took us to the train station. I'll show you here a picture, a typical train station in every community where they took the Jews to the train station. Here is the train, the boxcar. You know the size of a boxcar. Use your imagination that this is the boxcar. One Nazi was here, well protected, one here, both well protected. In the middle, 70 Jews. They counted 68, 69, 70 cut. And there was a child that his or her parents were already on the train. This child was not permitted to follow his or her parents. This child had to go to the next boxcar. We were standing and like sardines. We couldn't move around. I happened to be close to the door. When they packed all the Jews in those boxcars, there were hundreds of boxcars. There was one little window on the roof, no food, and no toilet facilities. The car began moving. The trip took 3 days and 3 nights. Finally, the train stopped. They opened the heavy gates on each boxcar, and this is what we saw. This is the train when they arrived in Auschwitz. Let me go back a little bit. I'll show you here a picture. This picture was one of us, Jewish Nazis. Why is he in this paper? He died about a year ago in Israel, and they are building now a hospital in his memory. So when I saw this one, you can imagine how I felt. So that was the uniform I was wearing. So when they opened the heavy gates, we were greeted by a tall, slender Nazi. This animal in human form. And he said, "I am Dr. Joseph Mengele." How many of you heard of Dr. Joseph Mengele? So that is him. You noticed I used the present tense. I didn't say that was him. That is him. And he spoke in German, and it was immediately interpreted to all European languages because there were Jews from Hungary, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia, all over Europe. And he said, "When I will give you the orders, I want the men to go over there, and you will form a line, 5 people in a row, women over there, 5 people in a row, small children. I want you to leave them there, we'll take care of small children, and elderly people, we'll take care of them." Orders were given. A horrible picture. Now I'm speaking of the boxcar where I was, and I'm sure that I can speak of the rest of the boxcars. At least a third of the people were already dead, and there was not enough room for them to collapse. We were so close to each other, we just couldn't move. I looked for my family, they were alive. Then we walked to the designated place, and for one thing, and one thing only, I'm grateful for the Nazis. What is this? The Nazis took pictures and movies constantly. Constantly. When you saw a Nazi, he touched his lapel, then you knew that your picture has been taken. He had a hidden camera. It had to be a very small camera. And they had also the big movie cameras. If not for those pictures today, many, many people all over the world would not believe that the Holocaust ever happened. Let me share a picture with you, which was taken 5 minutes after we left the train. You will see 2 people in particular with stars. 2 people. The one to your right was my father. Next to my father was my brother. And I is supposed to be standing here because my brother and I always made sure that our father would be between us. Then Mengele gave orders to many Nazis to go back to the boxcar, take care of the children. The Nazis stood at the edge of the train, grabbed the child, dead and or alive, by his hair or by her hair, by her arm, by her leg, wherever he could get hold of him. And they threw the child. You could see hundreds of children in the air. This is not something that I saw on television. I saw it. I was there. What happened when a father or a mother recognized the child? Show you a picture, what happened, and that can explain better than I could. Those children, when they were in the air, the Nazis used those children for their targets, practicing. Then they took care of the elderly people. The elderly people were placed on the Red Cross trucks, and there were many, many Red Cross trucks. The driver got in, drove away about a half a block, the driver got out, and they gassed the people right in the Red Cross truck. Then, of course, there were many, many dead, and we had to dig the grave and bury him. When Mengele came back where we were standing, and he said, "You are filthy," and we were. We had this one suit, we had it now for 4 weeks. We didn't see water for days. And he said, "Get undressed completely. You are permitted to keep your glasses and your belt. And we will give you fresh clothing." The way he spoke, it was very convincing. Of course, we got undressed. Then they took off the hair from top to bottom from everybody. They used this hand hair clippers. The Mengele said, I'm going to separate you. We didn't know what he meant, but we found out immediately. He was walking between the lines, and he said to us, "If I send you to the right, you'll go over there." Again, form 5 people in a row, and to the left, over there. My parents were sent to the left. My brother and I were sent to the right. Those people who were sent to the left were given a small bar of soap. The soap had an initial, RJF. We didn't know what it meant, and we cared less. After the war, we did find out. When the Americans, Russians, and the British came in, they found thousands of soap, and they were taken to Israel because those soaps were made of RJF, rein Jüdisch fat, pure Jewish fat of human being. And they are buried in Jerusalem. I was there 4 months ago, the 5th time, and I was at the grave there. The Mengele was not satisfied to murder so many Jews a day. He had a quota. Of course, nobody knows what the quota was. There was a crematoria. This is the picture, the door of the crematoria in Auschwitz. Mengele had a plan. Everything was worked out well. He placed 2 Jews, this is the door of the crematoria. 1 Jew was placed here and 1 here. 3 Nazis in the front of the crematoria door. And then Mengele looked around and he pointed at the person, "You, go over there." So this person walked over before the first Nazi. The first Nazi did something to him or to her. I couldn't see it. What I did see, when the person who came before the second Nazi, he or she was full of blood here. Then the second Nazi did something, again I couldn't see it. Then the third Nazi did, this I saw. The third Nazi had a little dish in his hand and a hammer of this size in his hand. And the person who was there had to open his or her mouth. If they had gold or silver tooth, knocked out the tooth in the dish. The 2 Jews who were placed there, put them in the oven. They were not dead yet, hardly alive. Those people who were working there were called Sonderkommando, and they were also murdered after 3 or 4 days working there. Miracles do happen, if you believe in miracles. I was working there 1 day. Yes. Here is a picture. I do not have the original one. Here is a picture. You see a Jew. You don't see the other one here. A Jew, and he's putting in a body. I don't know the person is alive or dead, but doesn't make any difference. This is what happened. How did I escape from the crematoria? Following morning, when they woke us up in this big barrack, Mengele came in, and at this point, he selected several Jews, but very, very carefully. I don't know what he based his selection. And he was looking carefully. He says, you, and you. He selected, I don't know how many, 18, 20, or 25 people. And he said, go over there. Mengele wanted to make sure that the people whom he selected will go over there. And he pointed at me too. At this point, I didn't know what to do. I asked my brother. My brother was 2 years older. I said, what shall I do? My brother said to me, go over there. And I said, I can't. I have to report to the crematoria. My brother said to me, no, you don't. They didn't take your number. They didn't take your name. If you go back, you have maybe 2, 3, or perhaps 4 days to live. Then you will be destroyed. If you go over there, you don't know. Take a chance. So I took a chance. I went over there. They took us to a large building which was a hospital. Not the kind of hospital you and I know of here in our community, because we have many, many hospitals in Omaha for sick people. This hospital was not for sick people. This hospital was for people who were healthy, because in this hospital they did all kinds of experiments. It is a book written by a Hungarian Jewish doctor, by Dr. Miklós Nyszly. I believe he lives in New Jersey with his daughter. He was working in that particular hospital with Eichmann and with Mengele. Tells you in detail what took place. But let me share a few, what I saw, a few experiments, what I saw there. I have to be very careful when I'm talking about the experiments because of the age group, and I see young students here, and I see elderly people. Perhaps it will be difficult, but bear it with me. I will try to share just a few. They injected people with chloroform into their hearts. Now, if you have doctors among you, they will tell you what this does. What they did, after the injection, seconds later, this person fell and died. They took blood from 2 different people, and they exchanged blood. Again, when that happened, both of them died. You know the reason why. We believe in blood transfusion, but it has to be the same type. Mengele didn't care. They didn't ask what type is your blood. They injected people with air. That was worse. They placed people in freezer. There was a large freezer that had heavy glass. When they threw in the person naked, he or she was trying to crawl on the straight wall, and finally she collapsed and died. The Nazis took blood from twins and injected it into Gentile women to see if they would give birth to twins. And it goes on and on and on, which I will not elaborate on it more. Mengele had 300 children burned alive in a fire, built in an open pit. What was the reason? Because it was difficult to poison the children in the gas chambers. They were all under 5 years old. This I cannot understand, but this is what we were told. Under 5-year-old children, they were not put in the gas chamber. Physical, mental, and emotional marks will remain forever. People ask me, do you have any marks on your body? I have 3 kinds of marks, but only one is visible. I have physical marks, yes, which I will talk about it later, and I'm not going to show you, because it's really not nice to get undressed here, We have emotional marks and mental marks. Let me share a little story with you, and then you will understand. A couple had one child. He was 16 years old. And all of a sudden, one day, the 16-year-old child, he was no longer a child. He was a child to his parents, of course. He saw a door there full of nails. And he asked his father, "Dad, I don't understand. What are those nails doing in the door?" And the father said, "I'm glad you asked. Mom and I didn't know what to do with you. Every time we asked you to do a favor for us or for anyone else, you refused, and we didn't know what to do. So Mom and I decided, every time you refuse when we ask you to do something, one nail will go into the door." And he looks at the door, probably there were a couple of hundred nails. And he asked, "Was I really that bad?" And the father said, "Worse. Is there any way how those nails can be removed?" The father said, "Yes." "How?" "Beginning today, if you are willing to do it, when you will do something to another human being, regardless who this human being is, every time you will do something for a human being, one nail is going to come out." And this young man was really working very, very hard. It took him a few months. Finally, all the nails were out. And this young man was very happy. And he said to his parents, "Dad and Mom, I want to take you out to a restaurant because I'm very happy the nails are no longer there." So he took out his parents, and they had a nice meal. When they came back, this young man is looking in the door, admiring it. And he said, "Dad, isn't that beautiful? No more nails." And the father said, "Son, come here. No more nails. The holes are there, and it will remain as long as the door will be there." Same thing with us. The emotional, physical marks are there. It cannot be removed. Now let me talk about what I went through a concentration camp briefly. Every morning they took us to work. Before they took us to work, they counted us, and it's called Zählappell. If you speak German, Zählappell means roll call. In the camp where I was, after Auschwitz, there were about 250 Jews or 300, I don't know how many. Before they took us to work, we had to stand motionless for 1 hour, like this, for 1 hour. While we were standing, they counted us. How long did it take for 50 Nazis to count 300 Jews? 10 minutes? They counted us for 10 minutes, and for 50 minutes we were standing there motionless. If a person moved his fingers or your head, you turned away your head, they killed immediately. The Nazis were constantly watching you with a machine gun and just killing one after the other. Many people couldn't stand. Many people wanted to die. One morning, while we were standing there, I learned to speak without moving my lips. I'm sure that you are watching television, then they talk, and there is a little animal, and he's talking. I learned to talk too. And I said to my brother, I wish I could be in that hospital. Every labor camp had a building that the Nazis called hospital. There were no such things. There were no hospitals, but every camp had a building. They called it hospital. When a Jew had a sore or a cold, something minor, he was permitted to be there for 2 or 3 days and then back to work. If he was still sick, they killed him in the hospital. So I said to my brother, I wish I could be in that hospital. And he talks back with a closed lips. Why do you want to be in that hospital? You know that you wouldn't last long. He said, well, I just want to be there for one day. I'm tired, sick and tired, mentally, physically, emotionally. I would like to just rest for 24 hours. But you cannot go to the Nazi and say, hey, sir, I would like to go to the hospital. It didn't work that way. They took us to work that particular morning, and I made a decision to take my life. And I wanted to commit suicide. Now let me ask you a question. Be honest to yourself. I'm not going to write down your name. Nobody's going to write down your name. But let me ask a question. Those of you who were thinking of committing suicide the last 12 months, are you brave enough to raise your hand? Teacher, where are you? I thought those people are honest people. There are people, many people. It is normal to think about suicide. It is not normal to take your life. But to think about it, there are times when we do think about suicide, yes. If you go through this emotion that you want to make an end to your life, please don't. There are priests, ministers, rabbis, doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, you name it. Go for help. Don't take your life. Life is precious, and I can tell you how precious it is. So I tried to commit suicide, didn't work. The Nazis saw what I was doing. He didn't say one word. They took us back to the camp. Following morning during Zehrappel, the head of the camp said, 37.276 gross, means 37,276 out. That was my number. I stood in the front of him, and he said to me, you are going to work today in that group over there. That particular group, the name was called Chemische Werke, and it was known as a punishment group. When they took us to work, the work did not take place in camp. We walked daily, one way, between 10 and 15 kilometers. When we arrived to work, one Nazi was next to me, and he was standing next to me all day. My work in that particular day was, they gave me some kind of an instrument. It looked like a shovel, like a small shovel something, and I had to smooth. There was a mountain, and I had to go like this all day. If I stopped for a moment, just to take a deep breath, he hit me. There was no food for me that day. By the evening, I was black and blue. Before they took us back to work, every night, the Nazis used to take to their building, to their barrack, pieces of wood. It was winter. And this particular Nazi had a long saw with those two handles. I was holding one end and he was holding the other, and my hand was shaking while helping him. And he slapped me several times. And I said to myself, enough is enough. And I stopped. I said, sir, may I say something? And he said, go ahead, dog. They called us Hund. We had no name. And numbers, they didn't know our numbers unless they looked. I said, what is it, dog? I was 19 years old when you Nazis took me away from my home. I was a student in a rabbinical college. I didn't eat today. However, your profession is a wood chopper. And I said to him in German, and du hast heute gefressen dreimal. How many of you understand German? Do you understand the word fressen? Okay. In German we say to eat essen. But when you use the word fressen, you shovel in the food like an animal. And I use the word, you fressed today 3 times. He picked up one of the sticks and hit me under my knee. I was out. And when I woke up, I was in that so-called hospital. Probably I never know how I got back. I don't know. And I said to myself, God really works wonders. Just this morning, I wanted to be hospital, and here I am. Let me go back a little bit. See, while I'm talking, I really don't see you. tell you the truth. I'm looking at you. I'm back in Auschwitz, back in those camps. But let's move back a little bit. When they sent the people in Auschwitz to the gas chambers with a bar of soap, they were shouting, yelling, cursing, singing, all kinds of sound in this gas chamber. And we, who were sent to the right, we just covered our ears because we could no longer listen to it. But being a singer myself, one of the songs that they were singing just hit me. And they were singing in Hebrew, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema beviat hamashiach, meaning, I believe in God. I look at my brother, and I said to my brother, I don't believe it. What? They are murdering them, and they believe in God. First time in my life, and hopefully the last time, I said, hell, what God? I questioned God. Now let's go back to where I left off now, a few more months. I just want to know if you're listening, where was I? Very good. I just want to know listening because I couldn't. I was in the hospital counting the days because a person was not permitted to be there longer than 2, 3, maybe 4 days. Every morning, the Nazis came in and you hear shots in this so-called hospital. Something occurred in the hospital, and I was accused that I was responsible for it. I am not going to share this with you. I will never share it. This will go into the grave after I will die. And I was accused, and following day I was sentenced to be hung. I had a rope on my neck. There was a gallows standing on a low stool, and I will not tell you details. Finally, the Nazi kicked the bench from under me. The rope broke. I was on the ground. That was my second disappointment. I wanted to die. They took me back to the building. It took a long, long time. Then one of the Nazis called me into one of the rooms there, which they called operating room. There were no such things. And he saw my leg. My leg was swollen because my pants was tight. So he saw my leg and he said, take off your pants. I couldn't move. He took a knife or a scissor, I don't know, and made an opening in my pants, and then he told me to lay down flat on a bench. I lay down. He took his knife and he made several openings under my knee. It is here. It's something I cannot hide and I won't hide. And again I was out. When I woke up, I was in that position. Goes from here up to here. And I was waiting, counting the days. I was laying there for a long time. One day, the Nazi came in the room, and they took off the gauze, and I remained a cripple. My leg healed in that position. I couldn't straighten it out. And here I'm laying a cripple. I was a cripple until May 9th. The war was over. Then I was freed by the Russians, and they took me back to Hungary, where I went through many, many surgeries. And at one point, they didn't know what to do with my leg. They wanted to amputate my leg. Being a Jew, a Hungarian Jew, stubborn, I said no, and I have my both legs. However, my left leg is shorter, a half an inch. And people who are in the front will see, if you see, this shoe is normal, see the lift here. So when I buy a pair of shoes, I have to have a lift, half an inch lift. I also have a lift inside. And I live with it. I'm suffering with my back for some 40 years. And a year ago, in October, I had back surgery, major back surgery. And I was walking with crutches, with cane. I couldn't walk at all. And I'm back here. Now let me talk a little bit about the cause of evil and hatred the way I see it. Ignorance and lack of knowledge is one cause for hatred. We know so little about those people whom we hate. I speak in general. White hate blacks, black hate whites, Christians hate Jews, Jews hate Christians. Again, in general, we are not talking about ourselves here. And if you tell me that's not true, unfortunately, it is true. Every religion, every race has beautiful values, not necessarily the same as yours and mine, but they have values. And we are not willing to learn from them. I'm looking at you. I'm not in Auschwitz now. And I'm trying to find a black student or a black person. I can't find. If there is one black, I would like to see you if you raise your hand. We don't have blacks. Okay. We cannot live without black people. We can't. If you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you. Those of you who can play the piano, go home tonight and play the Star Spangled Banner. Push only the white keys. Don't touch the black one. You can't do it. You can't play it only pushing the black keys. You need the white ones. If you would have a choice to go to a concert, one concert consists of 30 pianos, nothing else. Another concert, 30 different musical instruments. I'm sure most of you would go to the concert with the different instruments because it's more beautiful. What I'm trying to do for the past 40 years, to create a beautiful human orchestra. Jews, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, you name it. If God would want to have only one religion, you know what that religion would be? Jewish. No, there is a need. There is a need for all religion. Now I'll give you the three basic reasons for anti-Semitism. Before I was talking about hatred in general. Now about anti-Semitism. Ideological reason, political reason, and financial reason. And I'm sure you heard many stereotypes which I'm not going to read because that was copied from different newspapers and a whole list. I'm sure you heard that the Jewish people are rich. Now, question. How many of you heard that the Jews are rich? Thank you. How many think that the Jews are rich? Okay. Now, I am rich. I am a Jew, I am rich. Not because of this. I don't know if I would find here $3, but I'm rich. I tell you why I am rich. I tell you why a Jew is rich. God gives us 5 senses every single day when we wake up. Touch, hear, taste, feel, and smell. If you have those 5 senses, then you are wealthy. If you don't have it, you are poor. You might not agree with me. If you don't agree with me, come with me to different hospitals or institutions where people lost all their 5 senses. And then you will be wealthy. Now let me ask again. Those who are wealthy here, raise your hand. All of a sudden, everybody is wealthy. Thank you. There is another reason. Now, Jews are not wealthy. They're wealthy. Money they don't have. What does wealth mean? A Jew will do everything in his power to make sure that his children will have the best education that exists. If you have a good education, then you are going to walk up the step on the ladder. You can climb up and up and up. You can become what you want to become. If you don't have the education, then you stay on the bottom rank. Don't blame the Jew that you are standing there. You had an opportunity. The same opportunity. More opportunity than the Jew. The Jew was not permitted to go to a college in Hungary. The Jew is not permitted to go today to college. Probably you're wondering, what am I talking about? I can prove to you. If I would go to the chancellor in Omaha University and I would say, I want to bring 5,000 Jews from New York City for next year in your college, I couldn't. The answer would be there is a quota. But if someone else would say 500 whites, of course. So don't blame the Jew if they are successful. Education. If you have education, you will be successful. A man came home one day from work. He was upset in his work and he took off his jacket angry and he threw his jacket on the floor, stabbed on the floor, and he says, why can't I be rich? And his wife looks at him and she said to him, honey, we are rich. Someday we will have money too. Money doesn't make you rich. Today you have it, tomorrow you don't. Now I speak firsthand. We were considered rich in Hungary. 3 o'clock, March 16. 4 o'clock we had nothing. Everything was taken away from us, including our dignity. When a Jew does something wrong, why do we say the Jew? If someone asks me the Jew, I ask, which one? You don't take the one Jew commits a crime, all the Jews. One black person commits a crime, all the black people. Speaking of black people, there were 2 neighbors. Each one had a 5-year-old child, and they sent the children the first time to kindergarten. And one of the mothers was curious to find out how her child is doing. 5-year-old, the first time away from home. She went to see in the schoolyard, and she saw her child and her neighbor's child playing. Wonderful. And when she saw her neighbor's child playing with someone, she could hardly wait to go home and tell the neighbors. And Mary, I just came from school, I saw the kids. Did you see my son? Yeah. What was he doing? He was playing. Oh, good, good. Would you like to know with whom he was playing with? And the mother said, doesn't make any difference. This one does. All right, tell me. Who was my child playing with? With a nigger child. Didn't say a Negro, didn't say black, a nigger child. So this mother said, I am taking out my child from the school. I will never permit my child to play with a nigger child. The child came home. And this is not a story. Unfortunately, it is a true story. Child came home and the mother asked, did you have a good time in school? Yes. Did you play? Yes. With who? With Mike. Was Mike black? And the child looked straight in his mother's eye. I will look tomorrow. The child does not see color. A child does not see religion. A child sees another child. If you and I, we learn from this child to look at a person not as a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu or a Jew or black, as a human being. Let me ask white people here. Of course, everybody is white here. How many of you ever attended a church, a black church service on a Sunday morning? We have a few. And the rest are afraid. Are afraid. They're afraid they might learn something. Don't be afraid. You will never become black if you go there. But go there. Musically speaking, the most beautiful service, musically speaking, is the Negro spiritual. It's beautiful. I go there quite often. I speak there. I also go to a Muslim church, and the minister is a very close friend of mine in Omaha. And when we see each other, we take each other around. Hi, brother. That's in Omaha, yes. When a crime is committed, don't be silent. We have the freedom to choose between right and wrong. Choose the right path in life. People who are bystanders when a crime is committed are also guilty for letting the crime happen. Many people ask me, why am I talking constantly about the Holocaust? Because I value freedom. Freedom comes through deed only, not by thinking or talking about it, by deed. Let me talk a little bit about the many blessings that we have in this country. And you do not appreciate it. Don't tell me you do. You don't. I know from my own children. I have 6 children, and I'm not Catholic. They don't appreciate. They don't. They take things for granted. Those of you who appreciate having a bathroom, a toilet in your bedroom, do you really appreciate it? No, you don't. How many people don't have bathrooms in their house? They have outdoors. We didn't have a bathroom indoors. We didn't have a bathroom outdoors. We had a field. Do you appreciate having a freezer or refrigerator? No. Do you appreciate an air condition? No, you don't. And I tell you why you don't appreciate. Because you are not American citizens. Now let's find out. All those people here who are American citizens, raise your hand. American citizens. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here who was not born in this country? We have 1, 2. Are you already citizens of America? Okay. There are 3 citizens in this room. And I'm going to prove it to you that you are not. If you have one of these, which tells you that you earned to become an American citizen, then you are an American citizen. You don't have it. If you are not an American citizen, then what are you? You are an American. An American by accident. Born in America and born to American parents. You did not earn it. And therefore, we who are American citizens appreciate this country. And I will conclude here, but before I do, of course, I have a little, I developed a little humor, because if not for the humor, I wouldn't be here tonight. Those people who worry, W-O-R-R-Y, I have to spell it out, who worry about something. You worry about your spouse, about your child, about school. Let me see, who worries? Oh, everybody worries, okay. Now I can tell you that the worries will be over in 2 minutes. And there is no reason to worry anymore. There are only 2 things to worry about. Either you are well or you are sick. If you are well, there is nothing to worry about. But if you are sick, there are 2 things to worry about. Either you will get well or you will die. If you get well, there's nothing to worry about. If you die, there are 2 things to worry about. Either you will go to heaven or you will go to hell. If you go to heaven, there is nothing to worry about. But if you go to hell, you will be so busy shaking hands with friends, you won't have time to worry. And of course, my last remark. You notice that, maybe you didn't notice. Did you notice that I look a little tired? Yeah, okay. Would you like to know why I'm tired? Of course you want to know. And then we'll have questions after this. There are 200 million people in America. 85 million are over 65. 77 million are under 21. This leaves 38 million people to do the work. But 6 million are in the armed forces. This leaves 32 million to do the work. But 6 million are on welfare. This leaves 26 million to do the work. But 15 million work for the government. This leaves 11 million to do the work. But 6 million are in school. This leaves 1 million to do the work. But 750,000 are sick or disabled. This leaves 250,000 to do the work. But last month, 249,998 people were in jail. This leaves 2 people to do the work. And since you don't do much, no wonder I'm tired. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart to give me this opportunity to share some of my experiences. Now, if you have questions, or plane, if you call it a plane, it's a big bird, leaves after 10 o'clock. Okay, if you have any questions, you can have any questions you wish to, and if I cannot answer, I won't be embarrassed, or I won't be ashamed to say I don't know, or I cannot answer this question. Yes, sir?
Yeah, you have to remember when you were in the ghetto before you went out and escaped and joined what was basically cells underground. Do you have any contact with any of the other underground groups, either in Hungary or else?
With those 19...
The 19 people, did you have contact with them?
No, I don't know where they are. No. No. Yes, sir.
Did you have any contact with Nazis before you were taken away? What type of contact did you have?
I grew up in Hungary, and I was among anti-Semites for 19 years. I grew up with them. And every time when they went to church on Christmas and Easter, we had to board all our windows, because it was preached in the church that the Jews killed Christ, and I don't know what else, but they broke all the windows. So I grew up with them. When we went to school, as a Jewish kid, during recess, I couldn't play with the non-Jewish kids. A few Jews who were there, we had to go in a corner outside in the yard, and the non-Jewish children were playing. We couldn't. We had recess for 10 minutes every morning and every afternoon. While you were in the building, in the classroom, if a Jew wanted to go to the bathroom, he or she was not permitted. We went home from school with wet pants many, many times. Can you imagine? So this is the environment I grew up. When people ask me how old I am, I say, I will be 47 in March. And people say, no, it can't be. Yes, I am. Because the first 20 years I don't count. That wasn't life. And one thing I did learn, and I'm hesitant to tell you, but I hope you will understand. Don't misinterpret. How did the Nazis know where the Jews live? I grew up among non-Jewish people. When the Nazis came in, my friends, the non-Jewish kids, brought the Nazis. This is a Jewish home, and this is a Jewish home, and this is a Jewish home. How else would the Nazis know where the Jews live? And I learned something from that moment. Since then, and I will explain, since then, I will never but never trust a non-Jew with my life. And I explain, don't misinterpret what I am saying. I do business with non-Jews, we sleep together, I don't mean literally. We eat together, we drink together, we socialize together. But if there would be another Hitler in this country, and my next door neighbor, who is a very close friend of mine, we visit each other constantly, and if he would say to me, Leo, I will hide you, don't run away, I couldn't trust him anymore. And I hope you understand with my life. Okay, question. Yes?
What is your opinion of
Who is he? David Duke, before the election, 2 weeks ago, I spoke to the rabbi, I don't know if you listen to the radio, Rabbi Barry Weinstein. He was on the radio for a couple hours. I spoke to him on the telephone, and I wanted to go there to speak to the people because there are many, many Nazis. He lives in Baton Rouge. David Duke doesn't really frighten me. What does frighten me? The people who voted for him. Those people frighten me. It can happen here. Hitler started with a handful. And it can happen. And David Duke is not, there are many, many David Dukes around. And I have all the information about him and other Nazis too. Did you watch television Sunday when Buchanan was interviewed? There's another Nazi for you. So what frightens me, the people who voted for him. And we have to keep our eyes open. When I say we, Jews and non-Jews alike. What he says, he spoke very nicely. Don't believe a thing what he says. Yes?
What would you do if you could turn the tables on your ex-tormentors or have you forgiven them?
According to Jewish law, we should forgive people. Judaism teaches this, and Christianity, forgive, yes. The time did not come yet for me to forgive him. Time didn't come. Forget? No, never. And besides, I have no right to forgive the Nazis. I have a right to forgive them what they did to me. But I have no right whatsoever to forgive them what they did to my parents. My parents have to forgive them, but my parents are not around. My parents don't even have a marker, a grave, that I can go and say a prayer there like many of you can. I can't. There's no grave for them. So forgive? No. But I must tell you that the Nazis are not the only ones. The free world, when they could do a lot, they were silent. So it's not only the Nazis who are guilty. There are many, many people who are guilty of murder. You and I are guilty of murder if we are silent, if we do nothing what goes on in Russia, what goes on all over the world, where they're murdering people. One of the 10 Commandments says, thou shalt not, what? Doesn't say that. You will be very disappointed. You don't know the Bible. You don't know the 10 Commandments. In Hebrew, it says, which is the original, lo tirtzach, which means don't murder. Don't kill is lo taharog. It doesn't say that. It says don't murder. Murder is permitted. I'm sorry, killing is permitted. Murder is not. No, I don't want you to go home and just take a knife and kill your friend. That's murder. That's murder. Thou shalt not murder. Yes.
What makes you think Dr. Mengele is still alive?
I'll answer this with a question. How do we know that he is not alive? Nobody saw him dead. Nobody. Even the lady who said first, then she said, no, that's not him. Do you know that Mengele was in this country? Yeah, the American government brought him here after the war. They used him. They wanted to know everything, all his secrets. And then when they found out everything what the American government wanted, they sent him back. Yes, he was in this country. Mengele is alive. We don't know where he is, but he's alive. And he's breathing this beautiful, fresh air, which he does not deserve. I don't believe if they would catch him that they should put him to death, because we don't believe in death. But what I believe is that every freedom should be taken away from him and from all the Nazis, not their life. We have no right to do this. Only the one who gave us life has the right to take it away. She gave us life, and when time comes, she'll take it away from us. Yes?
I've heard on accounts of concentration camp survivors that there was a strong sense of apathy towards life and towards the people that arose in the camps after being in them for so long, which is understandable. Did that happen to you at all? Did you?
As I mentioned in the beginning, my English isn't too good. You have to tell me, interpret what this one word means, because I don't know what it means. Yes?
A sense of not caring about anyone or anything, or even whether you see the next 5 minutes.
That's correct.
Was that quite frequent among you?
It was constantly there. We didn't care. When they gave us the food, they gave us one loaf of bread, which was 2 pounds for 20 people. And then the first night when they gave it to us, you put down the bread and you just bent down for something and you stood up, the bread was no longer there. We stole bread from each other. I stole from my brother, he stole from me, and we made an agreement. When you get your little piece of bread, hold it in your hand with both hands and eat it immediately. We did not care. No, we didn't. Yes?
When you and the other people who were wearing the Nazi uniforms decided to turn yourselves over, were there others who decided to remain in the uniforms?
Not the 19, all 19, because we talked about it. If we would decide to remain a Nazi, how long will we remain a Nazi? And who will save us? Our Christian neighbors? That was one thing, why we gave it up. Second thing, if I would not give up my disguise, I don't think I could live it myself, because I would never know what happened to my father or to my mother and to my family. After the war, I did have a problem, an emotional problem, a mental problem. I could not live with myself. And I lived at that point in Montreal, and I went to see a rabbi. This rabbi still lives there. And I said to him, I have a problem. Why am I alive and my parents are not? Am I a better Jew than my parents were? Am I a better human being than my parents were? Why am I alive? And he said to me, every human being was created by 2 people and God to fulfill a certain mission, with a mission. You did not fulfill this mission. Your parents did. Therefore, you are alive and they are not. And being Leo Fettman, with a little humor, I said to him, without even thinking, I said to him, you know what, Rabbi? I am going to work very slowly to fulfill my mission. But following day, that night I couldn't sleep. Following day, I said to myself, maybe he is right. Maybe I did not fulfill my mission. Okay, fine. What is my mission? And I was searching. Finally, I found it. When Professor Botts and many others came out with books that the Holocaust never happened, I said to myself, now is the time to talk. And I felt this is my mission. For the past 30 years since I'm speaking, about many different topics. I speak an average between 12 to 15,000 people a year. I did bring the Jewish community and the non-Jewish community closer together. At least we understand each other, we communicate with each other, and we respect each other. In the Bible we find in Hebrew, it says, "Ve'ahavta l'raecha kamocha." You should love thy neighbor as thyself. It does not say your Jewish neighbor, or your black neighbor, or your Muslim neighbor. It doesn't say your neighbor. A neighbor is another human being. How can God force me to love you? God can't force me. Well, if he cannot force me, then what does it mean, love thy neighbor? It means respect. Whatever his or her belief is, respect. Yes, we have to respect those people who are gay. I don't agree with them. No. This is their belief, and we have to respect them. If it's wrong, maybe they will pay for their mistakes. I don't know. Who am I to say? But don't look down at them. They are also God's creatures. God created them. Yes, sir.
How do you feel about how the United States government has treated the Native Americans?
Terrible. Terrible.
Can we not compare that to the concentration camps?
Yes, it was a different Holocaust. The Nazis wanted to destroy physically the Jews. America did not want them to destroy, but they took everything away from them. What do you think? How did they feel? Those people were Americans, Indians. Do you know why the Indians came first here to this country? How many of you know? Because they had reservations. Yes, we treated them wrong, yes. And even now, American government is not willing to give them back their remains so they can bury their dear ones. I was very much involved with this too. No, we didn't treat them. And how about the Japanese Americans? I wasn't here, but I heard. They took them and they sent them to camp. They took everything away from them. Why? But America, a wonderful country. I love it. But they love to tell other people what they should do. Yes, sir. The what? Title of the book? At Last, the Truth About Eichmann's Inferno, Auschwitz. I was looking for this book high and low, all the old bookstores in Montreal, in Madison, Wisconsin, I live there, and here I can't find it. And I paid for this, it says 50 cents. If you can find one of these books, I'll pay you 60. No, no, we have a feeling, we don't know for sure what happened to these books. We have a feeling those Nazis who live in this country saw this book, and they tried to hide them. Because probably they don't want that it should go into the public. I don't know. But if you find, I'll pay a price for it. I would like to have more than one. Yes, sir.
That brings up a point. In a lot of schools around here, there's certain things that children are not allowed to read in classes. I mean, even in high school. And I was wondering where you stand on the idea of censorship.
Censorship. I think that a person, an individual person, should be able to fulfill his wishes, whatever his wishes are, but not try to force his belief on someone else. And as long as what they are teaching, they don't teach hatred. I am very much against teaching hatred of any kind. Hatred, no. But to teach for information, I think the people should know what took place. People should know what David Duke is willing to do, that they should. And this is the reason why survivors, unfortunately, I am the only one right now in Omaha who goes from place to place. We have one lady, once in a while she will go. She's not a Auschwitz survivor. She's also is she hidden? Mrs. Pepper, a hidden child. And this is the reason I'm going out to educate people. I spoke last week in a small town. I have to look where I spoke. Springfield, small town. And they look at me, and I ask them, did you see a Jew before? Half of the class said no. And in this particular town, there are Jew haters there. I remember the first time when I spoke, I was invited to Elkhorn. That was about 16 years ago. And I was told that there are several Nazis. So when I was invited, I called up the chief of police, Chief Wadman. And I told him that I'm invited to speak there, and I'm hesitant. Then don't go, he said. I said, I want to go. I want to bring a message to them. And I asked him, could you give me a bulletproof vest? He said, I would love to, but I can't do it. Because if I would give you one, and something really happens, there's no security there, I would be responsible. But I have a very close friend who is an FBI agent in Omaha. He gave me one, and I have it. And he told me, call up the sheriff. So I called the sheriff, and I told him I will be there. I would need some protection. And he said, we'll have a protection for you. And he told me the person who will be there described how he or he will be dressed. So I walk in. I look like I'm going to play football, with those big thing on. And I said to the students, I spoke to over 400 high school kids. And I said to them, see how heavy I am, how fat. I love to eat. And I did this. You know what this is? No. It's a bulletproof vest. And they look at me, why are you wearing it? I said, you never know whom you will meet. And also, by the way, I said to them, while I will be talking, if you will see somebody walk into the room, don't pay attention to him or to her. It will be a policeman or a policewoman. And at this point, somebody came in. And I looked at the person who gave me the signal, and I said, there she is. It was a lady. There she is. I said, don't try anything. But I wore it only once when I spoke. And about 3 years ago, I conducted the services in the synagogue during the high holidays, and I was wearing it because we had many threats. The churches also had threats in synagogues, so I was wearing it. So those people play football. They put on a whole mattress, and they are going out and play there. Speaking of football, I think it's crazy. 22 people are killing each other for one little ball. Why can't you buy 22 balls, give each of them one, and they won't kill each other? No, I guess people who are football fans, they enjoy it. I don't understand it, I don't go. I was just kidding. Now let me ask you a question. What are you going to do with this information that I gave you tonight? Don't tell me no, unless you want to tell me. But I hope you're not going to put it in your back pocket. You'll do something about it. If you hear of a crime committed of any kind against any human being, use your most powerful weapon. I'm not speaking of a gun. I'm not speaking of a knife. Your lips. Don't be silent. Speak. It's permitted. We have a free country here. We can speak as long as we are not hurting another person, and use it.
Can you chant the Numbers benediction? The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord
That's what I did in the beginning.
You did that at the beginning.
On behalf of a number of organizations, the College of Natural and Social Sciences, behalf of the Sociology Club, and United Ministries, and our budget. I'd like to express our appreciation for Cantor Fettman and Dr. Cantor being with us. It's been a treat. We have been enriched. Let us express our appreciation.
I'm trying to figure out, we have a member of our congregation, I'm trying to figure out, they never applaud in the synagogue. What am I doing wrong there? No.